get started. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the lands and waters on which we live, work and play. I'd like to pay my respects to their elders past and present. And I want to express my gratitude for the generous way in which the First Nations people of this country share their culture and wisdom with us all. The athlete that you can see featured on this first slide is proud Bakinji woman Chantel Thompson. She's a 2-time world champion jiu-jitsu athlete. She's a mum of 5 and a businesswoman. My name's Vicky Saunders. I'm a founder of the Brand Builders, and 9 years after launching my company, I am still completely obsessed with athlete sponsorship, and I can't wait to share some really interesting things with you today. So welcome to each of you, and thanks for finding the time in your busy week to join me and a whole bunch of other industry professionals for what I hope is going to be a really valuable 30 minutes in your week. Each of us here today are involved in some way in the athlete sponsorship ecosystem. Just looking at who's here now, we've got sports agents, we've got marketing and sponsorship managers, we've got athlete advisors, and I'm actually really happy to see some athletes here as well. It's great because, if we all have this shared knowledge, we work better together. So a little bit about me and how we work at the Brand Builders. And I guess I want to give you the lens that we're coming from today, or we're looking through today in the webinar. So the Brand Builders, on one side of the table, we focus on athlete education. And we deliver this education through our clients, who are large sports organisations all around the world. So the Australian Institute of Sport, US Olympic and Paralympic Committee, Sport Singapore, Sport England, those kinds of organisations, they're our clients. And they bring us in to educate their athletes on athlete sponsorship and athlete brand. And it's something that we really love doing and we're very passionate about, but we also bring that across to the other side of the table of working with brands, with corporates, with government, even with not-for-profits as sponsorship consultants around their engagement of athletes. So it's all very athlete-centric. And within this, we're really neutral. We don't represent any athletes. We don't broker deals. We're very much about education, consulting, support, and strategy. And I think that's really cool because it gives us this very this very clear view from both sides that isn't tainted with our, other ambitions or other needs that we have as a business. So, it's great to be sharing insights from both of those perspectives and share with you what's really working across this ecosystem of athlete sponsorship. Just give me 1 sec. Okay. So today's session, I'm really going to shift the focus to the athlete insights that we have rather than just what brands and businesses are telling us. So we speak to athletes on a daily basis and we get to hear from them what they're doing with sponsors, what's working, how it's working, what's behind it. And so this is really important because I think it gives a lot more depth to the insights and we can look at the sustainability of them. Is this a really mutually beneficial and effective activity? Is it something that the athletes enjoy and really want to do and be involved in, and something that they're good at? Because it's really important to look at this more than just the superficial trends that are happening in marketing and advertising and sponsorship. We want to dig a little bit deeper and see what's actually really working and what's something or some things that you can grab in your business, in your organization, and run with, knowing that it's not just going to be a flash in the pan. It's actually something that's going to be valuable, sustainable, meaningful maybe, and something that is going to add value, add ROI to your athlete sponsorship investments. So when we work with athletes, we try to give them an understanding of businesses and how businesses work. And in the same way, we're going to give just a few little insights into how athletes think and work and maybe some different ways that you can gain value from them and give value back to them in return. One of the things that I guess I want to share with you is the trends that we're sharing. There's 3 key leading sponsorship trends that we're going to share today. And these trends you can pick up and use in your own business. They are useful for all types and sizes of businesses. And something that these trends or top 5 lists, or some of these trends and top 5 lists are only really relevant to particular types of businesses, like really big organizations. So we've tried to bring it to a level that's relevant to everyone that's in the webinar today, or everyone who's watching the recording. I think it's really important that there's relevance at different levels. It's very easy if someone's got a huge budget and can afford some, super high profile athlete and just, stick their product on them and off they go and they sell 1 million units. It's kind of the unicorn of sponsorship. And as we know, unicorns are they don't exist, let's be honest. But so that's not, we're not talking about that today. We're talking about real practical stuff that's affordable, achievable, and attainable for all types of businesses. But trends are really only effective when they are underpinned by a proven and effective strategy. So I'm also going to share with you the foundations of effective sponsorship that are going to underpin these trends, and how you can weave them into your overall strategy. So if there's anything that I don't explain really well, if there's anything that you think you'd like to know a little bit more on, please feel free to get in touch with me after this session. It's a very short 30-minute presentation. So I'm really just sort of planting some seeds, sharing some concepts, and you'll be sent an email straight after the webinar with the recording, with the tip sheet, and with a little link so you can book in a time to chat with me if you'd like to find out more or share your thoughts. So as you probably know, athlete sponsorship has changed significantly in the last 10 years, and for the better, I think. It's increasingly less about the athlete's results and rankings and more about the person. We're seeing better representation of diversity, and there's less selling and more storytelling. If we look at the main function that sponsorship has traditionally had, which is sales and marketing, then it's really interesting to observe how brands influence, sell, and engage with their target markets. This has gone from being a one-way street to becoming an open field of communication. Consumers are tired of ultra glam media campaigns and glossy celebrity and endorsements. In the digital age, we crave connection with real people now more than ever, and it's never been more important to humanize your brand. A recent Nielsen report showed that 91% of consumers put more trust in recommendations from people above all other forms of advertising. And that's where athlete sponsorship can play such a big part in connecting brands with customers, any type of business with any type of customer. So let's look at the 3 trends that more and more sponsors are incorporating into their strategies. They aren't fast trends that will be forgotten in a fortnight, but trends that will bring real value to your current strategy and improve your ROI. When it comes to planning your sponsorship strategy, what we see working really well, and again in every type of business, is getting the broader team involved. So the first trend is seeking value from athletes across the business. You can see, you can see ways that athletes can offer value across the business, as well as different departments and functions being able to offer value and opportunity back to the athletes. Because as you know, this isn't a one-way street. This is about sharing value and providing value back to the athletes that you sponsor. And that value can be in different forms. So I think this is even more important now, because businesses are not just looking to grow, make sales, or even just build brand awareness, but they also want to carry messages such as how they are an inclusive workplace, or that they want to create social impact or support a cause. You can bring together different stakeholders from within the business to look at how athlete sponsorship could potentially offer value to their department or their function. And sometimes this means that the budget for sponsorship might actually come from other areas of the business too. So it really opens the scope of what you can do in this athlete sponsorship space. That's a mouthful. So some examples, you might find that the HR department want to get the athletes involved in creating some onboarding videos for new staff. And these videos might be a little bit more interesting than the standard boring corporate style ones. Or they might even get athletes involved in the recruitment process by attending events or even promoting vacancies to their networks on social media. Your training and development department might want to get the athletes involved in delivering training workshops or offering some engaging breakout activities. They might even like them to do some one-on-one mentoring. Athletes can be really great at that. A real estate agent that we work with actually get the athlete that they sponsor to do sales training for their agents because he has a significant sales background. So he delivers really, practical skills. But he also does motivational talks for their staff. Athletes bring so much more to the table than just their brand or their story. And I know that's what so many people focus on now. They say, you've got to know their brand, it's about storytelling. Yeah, sure, but there's so much more behind that. And when you unpack it and you unpack, what you're doing as an organization and try to marry the two together, you can get some exceptional value from the athletes that you're sponsoring beyond the traditional activities that you might engage them for. And saying that, these athletes that I'm talking about, they're maybe not the tier 1 athletes. A lot of athletes who aren't, super, super famous, they're not a household name, they may have professional skills just through the sheer fact that they've had to work through their career as an athlete. They've had to support themselves financially. And these athletes bring skills that they'd love to share with you and develop and offer as value. Because there's so many athletes that say, social media isn't my thing, or I don't have a huge following, or I'm not not great at a particular thing. And if you can hone into the skills that they bring to other areas of your business to seek value, that's a really great way to develop that relationship. And I would challenge you that every department or function within your business, I know smaller businesses may not have departments, they may have people, but I challenge you that you can find value from athletes in every area of your business. And I think another really interesting thing, just to, I guess, back that up or add a bit more to it, you can actually get the athletes themselves involved in this process of identifying and marrying up those skills and opportunities. Running a creative session, bringing your athletes in to work alongside and think creatively alongside your team. It's a really great opportunity to get a fresh perspective or even an expert insight on what they can offer. These athletes are experts in so many different things, and if you can tap into that, together you can collaboratively come up with some really great ideas. So the next trend, and I don't think, just I guess framing this a little more, none of this should be a surprise to you. You've seen this stuff. This is what's been happening. This is what's happening and trending in athlete sponsorship and in marketing generally. I guess I just want to kind of shine the spotlight on these 3 trends that we see as being extremely valuable and effective, and look a little bit at what's behind them, because they don't just kind of happen by themselves. Obviously, there's strategy behind them. So every business now has, in small or big ways, a responsibility to take affirmative action for social impact. It may be supporting a charity, a local school, or making an impact by adopting the United Nations Sustainability Development Goals, the SDGs. Most Australian businesses also have or are in the process of developing a reconciliation action plan. Most businesses have something beyond their core business that they care about, and this is a great space to explore for athlete involvement. Weave your greater purpose stuff into your sponsorship. It could be as simple as having athletes carry a message for a cause that matters to your organisation, such as equity for women, or a healthy living message. They can be part of your communications and activities, or they can carry those messages in their own way across their own platform to their network. Athletes can be involved in activities that are fundraisers for your charity partner, and you can really hone in on the athlete's skills such as public speaking, photography. Maybe they could do some photography that is a fundraising activity or of the fundraising activity for your charity. They might be a great painter. They could do a beautiful painting that gets donated for your charity partner to fundraise at an auction. There's so many different ways you can do this. If you have or you currently are developing a reconciliation action plan, you might consider engaging First Nations athletes, which in itself could be one of the commitments in your plan. Or you could also get them involved in the development or delivery of aspects of the plan, such as cultural education within your business. You can quite literally speak to your social impact commitments through the athletes that you sponsor, as well as the activities that they do with you. If you care about diversity, show it in the athletes that you sponsor. If you care about the environment, get the athletes to participate in activities that are carbon neutral. This is not complicated. It's really just about connecting the dots. And I know that you guys are already really great at the work that you do. And so this is maybe just some food for thought of how you can bring this other element or enhance this other element in your athlete sponsorship. Now, the third trend, and it's one I'm extremely passionate about, it's the 99%. The modern marketing landscape shines a light on a new type of athlete ambassador, and it has for quite a few years and increasingly so. We are all familiar with the 1% of athletes, those household names, the famous athletes, the ones that are earning huge amounts of money and are on the TV and in the magazines all the time. But the 99%, all the other athletes, offer incredible value in this new landscape that rewards relatability. The 99% make great ambassadors because we can relate to their stories. They work a day job, somehow they fit training in between school drop-off if they've got kids and grocery shopping. And if you ran into them in the street, you'd feel comfortable saying hi. The 99% are normal and yet still extraordinary because of their athletic talents or their commitment to their sport. Their relatability makes them credible and relevant sources of information and influence. As consumers, we don't always want to be inspired, and in fact, that inspirational athlete can sometimes have the opposite effect on us. If the sponsored athlete is at one end of the spectrum, be it in their skills, their appearance, or even their age or gender, we switch off because we don't see how anything they do or products that they might use has any relevance to us. Sometimes we want to see someone just like us, doing what we do or what we want to do, how we do it, or maybe even a little bit better than we do. They're relatable and maybe a little aspirational, but we see ourselves in them. The 99% of athletes, the ones who haven't got 1 million followers or $1 million in their pockets, have niche stories relevant to your customer demographics. And I've got to say it, you will find that they are really eager to give great value back to their sponsors. They know they've got great value to offer you, so it's a two-way street, but they will appreciate your investment in them as well as the opportunity to develop their skills and to continue to grow their own brand. So don't misunderstand what I'm saying. They're valuable and they know it. But the value that they bring to you, they expect value in return. It's a really great opportunity to get, I guess, more bang for your buck. You know, if you sponsor just the 1% of athletes, you may not get exceptional value from them. These athletes bring a very different life experience than the 1%, who have essentially been highly funded or paid throughout their sporting career. These athletes often have other careers or professional skills that they've had to develop to pay the bills. They get how the world works. They think outside the square. They're resourceful, they're resilient, and they often have more availability than the 1%. One of the other really cool things about this 99% of athletes is how, by virtue of sponsoring someone who may not be a household name, that in itself can carry an important message without saying a word. Sometimes it's more important to show than tell. If you engage a diverse range of athletes, you are showing that diversity is something you care about and are committed to. If you have athletes who reflect the demographic of your customers, you're showing your customers you understand them and that they're worthy, they're something valuable and important to you. If you invest in female athletes, you're showing that you care about and see value in women's sport. So those were the trends. They're the things that if you applied one or more of them into your athlete sponsorship strategy, good things are going to happen for you and the athletes that you engage. But I want to talk now about the foundations. So rather than just looking at the trends like that we've looked at just now, I want to look at the fundamental foundational stuff that's behind those successful sponsorships, the stuff that's going to make your athlete investments and engagements inherently more valuable. And again, if you do one or more of these things, you will get more return on your investment. So here are some sponsorship fundamentals that back up these three trends. They aren't trends themselves. I'd like to think that they're a bit more long lasting. They're the like I say, the foundations of good sponsorship. It's what's happening behind the scenes that's going to ensure that your sponsorship strategy is solid and grounded in good foundations. So there's 4 of these. The first one being ambassadors within the business. So it's a little bit like the first trend. It's an element of it. It's how you can get more value from the athletes that you sponsor by harnessing their inspirational, motivational, and professional skills within your business, whether it's them delivering a lunchtime talk in the boardroom for your staff, doing some one-on-one mentoring, or maybe being involved in some creating some interesting content for you for your internal communications. So some examples, you could involve them in the creation and delivery of a health and wellbeing program that gets rolled out across the year. You could maybe spend a day with them filming some videos, creating some content, and then you share that each month with a tip or a challenge for your staff, and maybe tie that in with a practical session or 2 throughout the year so they actually get to meet the athlete and do some fun activity or a wellbeing activity with them. A company that I worked with quite a few years ago, they sponsored a long distance runner, and he ran the length of Australia, and during that run he promoted them as he would any sponsor. But then when he came back, he came in and delivered a motivational coaching session for a group of the employees who had signed up to do a fun run together. It was a 10-kilometer fun run. And he did a motivational and coaching session with them, got them all inspired and ready to go. And then he created a training plan for each of them. So there was some real tangible value. He'd inspired them, but then he'd also given them something to go away and actually do. And he got in contact with them, you know, in the lead up to the event and really helped them get through that 10-kilometer run, which was a long way for a lot of those people. It's a long way, 10Ks. So yes, it's a really practical way of how you can use the athlete within the business. About 9 years ago, I was approached by a physiotherapy company who were about to launch a new practice in the outer suburbs of Melbourne. They didn't have an audience, they hadn't launched their business, but they decided that they were going to use athletes as ambassadors to grow and promote their business. So recruiting as a marketing tool is one of my favorite things because of this. Now, this is where it started for me, and I've shared it with so many clients since then. When they advertised for athletes that they wanted to sponsor, they used those adverts as an opportunity they did brand awareness promotion through engaging athletes. They put these posts out. If they got shared, because everyone obviously wants to, you know, connect it with their runner friends who want to get sponsored and so on. Now, long story short, they got over almost 400 applications for the 5 ambassador positions. Their social media figures went from 0 to, I think, 2,500. And this is just a small suburban physiotherapy group, not a big organization. So that was really astounding for them. And they created a community because people already understood what they were about. They got that this physiotherapy group really cared about and understood the everyday athlete. Around the same time, Masashi Power Bar put out a call for sponsored athletes, and they used very glossy, muscular looking athletes in their promotion. It's like, are you the next, you know, whatever it was, like ambassador, they got less than 70 applications, and they're a national or global brand. And I think it was all in the messaging. I think they put people off. You know, I spoke to athletes. I'm like, why didn't you apply for it? And they're like, oh, I'm not good enough. So, you know, it's interesting, isn't it? Wouldn't Masashi have loved to have chosen from 400 athletes rather than the 70 that they got? Interesting. So that's a really fun thing. Think about how you can recruit athletes and use it as a marketing tool, carrying messages and raising brand awareness. I'm aware of the time, so I'm going to speak really fast. Next thing, onboarding your athletes. You probably do this already, but I would encourage you to take just a little bit more time to get to know them in this process. See what's behind their brand, get to know their skills on a deeper level. Sometimes the recruitment process for athletes can feel quite rushed or quite process driven. So it's a really great time to actually onboard them, get to know more about them, make sure they understand your brand and the messages, and give them some time to get to know you and share their thoughts and their questions with you to really establish that relationship and those communication lines. You might also find that it's an opportunity to add some more specifics to their contract. You know, their contract at that point might have X number of social media posts, 3 appearances per year, etc., etc. This could be a great time to get into the specifics of that and go, well, you know, you love, you know, teaching kids, for example. We've got this event in September, maybe you know, you'd like to be involved in that. So really getting into the specifics of it on a one-on-one basis. Now, our next one is about educating and upskilling. And again, this is something I'm seeing a lot of businesses starting to do, and I'm encouraging a lot of businesses to do, because you're investing in your own investment. By educating and upskilling athletes, you're making them more valuable for you. And you can really make sure that what they deliver on your behalf is of a really high standard. So this trend works really well for any kind of businesses, because you don't have to pay for them to go and get training. You would have people within your business already who can offer education, training, upskilling for athletes. You might have someone that's great at social media and they can spend some time running a workshop or doing some one-on-one mentoring. You might already be running some in-house training, such as first aid or how to facilitate a workshop, things like that. Get your sponsored athletes involved. They would be so grateful. And again, you're, you know, enhancing their skills and their value to you. You also might have businesses or other professionals that you've got a great relationship with. And again, you could leverage off those relationships to ask if your athletes can maybe do some training with them, either at a fee or no fee. That's obviously a case-by-case basis. The idea of this is that you really improve the engagement as well as the standard. You know, you're giving more value back to the athletes, and I do believe it increases loyalty and their eagerness to do really well and to deliver value back to you. So we've made it. What's next? Well, if that was a little bit fast for you, you can watch the recording again. We'll be sending you the recording. We'll be sending you a tip sheet, which is a summary of the 3 trends. And in that email that we send, there's going to be a little link that you can click on to book in some time if you want to have a chat with me. I'm really keen to hear your thoughts on what's going on for you in your sponsorship world, and also to answer any questions that you have. 30 minutes isn't long, but hopefully I've given you some really good little ideas. If you've had one light bulb moment or one aha moment, then I'm very, very happy. And I really want to thank you for your time. These trends are not rocket science. They are so effective. I'm sure that some of you are already doing some or maybe all of those things. And I really encourage you to explore them. So in the meantime, until we speak next, I do want to thank you for your time and for the work that you do with athletes. It's important. So thank you.